This video was sponsored by nobody. You get nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, and people of all genders and lack thereof, today I present to you the Sylvy Awards 2023. That's right, everypony. We all know all award shows are fake and corrupt. That's why I've decided to make my own award show for fun. Here are the rules. I am only allowed to nominate games I've actually played or soundtracks I've actually listened to. And also, non-games media are allowed whenever I feel like it. Oh, hold on. The prompt is telling me to hurry up. Alright, let's get right to it then. Best Soundtrack. Now, a lot of really great OSTs came out this year, but unfortunately, I haven't really played that many games in general where the music really impressed me. But there's one series that always manages to consistently be great in music. And while I'd like to give an honorary mention to Soken's job on Final Fantasy XVI, this year's Sylvy Award for Best Soundtrack goes to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. That's right, I know it's a DLC technically, but this soundtrack has a lot of great bangers. Even if some of the songs didn't stand out, the ones that did were super memorable, especially the new normal battle theme. I never got sick of it in my 40 hours of playing. Ace Plus and the rest of the composers have done a wonderful job as always. Best Remake Soundtrack. Now, this category might surprise you, but honestly, with all the remakes and remasters coming out nowadays, I think it's really important that we give the composers and arrangers of these new versions a chance in the spotlight, since sometimes they manage to enhance a soundtrack to the point where it stands out more than before and gains more of its own unique identity. And of course, one of those cases is our winner for the Sylvy Award for Best Remake Soundtrack, which goes to Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Maddie, Lim and the rest of the crew have done an incredible job, not only translating the instruments from the original GBA games to modern times, but also reinterpreting a lot of the choices made with the original songs in new and interesting ways, from adding new counter melodies, creative new instrument choices, and excellent and consistent mixing and mastering. Many of the iconic songs from the original now have a little extra oomph to them that we always imagined in our heads, but could never quite hear from the GBA speakers. That's different now. This soundtrack was arranged and modernized excellently. A case study in how remake soundtracks should be approached for this style of game. Best Sound Design. Okay, this is gonna be a boring one. It's The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. From the way the footsteps have different sounds depending on the weather and terrain, to the way the music changes dynamically depending on how strong an enemy is, or how far you are in an area. Particularly, the approach to the Wind Dungeon is really great. None of these features are particularly new. They were here in Breath of the Wild in 2017 too. However, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And I just haven't personally played a game that did it better this year than this one. Best Movement. There are many games that came out before 2023 that have amazing movement mechanics. Some of my favorites are Umihara Kawase, Team Fortress 2, Tribes Ascent, Midair 2, and many more. But unfortunately, none of these games came out in 2023, so I can't nominate them. However, there is one 2023 game that I can safely say has amazing movement mechanics. The winner for this year's Sylvy Award for Best Movement goes to Pseudo Regalia. This game's movement takes a while to get used to, but once you get over the learning curve, this game becomes more and more fun. The geometry in the levels stop becoming platforming challenges and start becoming mere suggestions. If you think you can reach it, you probably can. The more you play Pseudo Regalia, the more you want to go fast and find new ways to break the game. And yet, the level design accommodates this behavior very well. It rewards you for thinking outside of the box. A lot of times when you sequence break things, the developers don't stop you, they let you do that on purpose. And finding all these crazy and rewarding ways to navigate the world just feels like a lot of fun. Biggest disappointment. When I said biggest disappointment, I think it's really important to remember that I care a lot about the games I've been disappointed by. It's not disappointment out of malice or hatred, but out of love and passion. That said, there's one game that disappointed me the most this year, and it was Starfield. In a perfect world. However, there was one game from a franchise I have held dear to my heart for more than a decade that really surprised me in how much it regressed in certain areas compared to previous entries. Unfortunately, this year's Sylvy Award for Biggest Disappointment goes to Yule! No, it goes to Fire Emblem Engage. Don't get me wrong, Fire Emblem Engage has the best gameplay in the series, and I absolutely love the character designs. But when it comes to story and music, two areas I consider to be super important for games, particularly in this series, I have to say, Fire Emblem Engage made me want to divorce. I consider this game to be the worst Fire Emblem game since Fire Emblem 12, New Mystery of the Emblem, which almost killed the franchise were it not for Fire Emblem Awakening's success. The story in this game is a gigantic step backwards compared to the previous game, Three Houses. The problem is not that it is more simplified, but that it almost seems to be making a mockery of itself. Fire Emblem stories have always been tropey, but the amount of predictable tropes are so high in this game that I was genuinely doubting whether this game's story was supposed to be satire or not. The music was not bad, don't get me wrong, but let's be real. Do you remember any of the game's music besides the main theme and the Soul map theme? The Soul map theme was fucking great, by the way. I love that one. But the problem is that Fire Emblem Awakening, Fire Emblem Fates, and Fire Emblem Three Houses all had multiple amazing memorable songs. Not just one. And that is one of Engage's biggest weaknesses in my opinion. It is a forgettable game with forgettable music and a story that is so bad and predictable that unfortunately I have to give it this year's award for biggest disappointment. But I am 100% sure that the team tried their best and I respect them a lot. By the way, for the record, Starfield disappointed me greatly too. Worst sound direction. Okay, this is another quick one. It's Sonic Dream Team. All of this game's sound effects and music are at different volume levels, and the game only has one good song. It feels like they forgot to test the game when it comes to its sound design. The sound effect of the springs is almost 4 times as loud as the music and other quieter sound effects. And yes, it's the same spring sound effect as from Sonic 06 again. Even the jumping hurts my ears a little every time. This game will need a lot of patching to fix its sound issues. Best video essay. H. Bomberguy's video essay, Plagiarism and YouTube, is an amazing video, and H. Bomberguy is an absolute icon. I can't really say much else, so just go watch it. It's perfect for listening to the background when you're doing chores or something else. Game of the Year! Now, before I state the obvious, I just want to make it clear that I hate CRPGs. They are boring, too complicated, and I can never really immerse myself in them like I can with games like Skyrim, for example. However, there is one game that positively surprised me this year, a game that addressed all my complaints I had with this genre. Well, I did play Destiny Original Sin 1, I got bored and dropped it. So it was a huge surprise to me when I discovered how much the developers of Destiny Original Sin 1 have improved since the last time I gave the game an actual chance. Yes, I am of course talking about Baldur's Gate 3, the game that single-handedly changed my mind on an entire genre of games. To say that I loved Baldur's Gate 3 is an understatement. I was obsessed with it for almost 5 weeks. I played it for 140 hours and somehow never felt the same boredom because of its amazing writing, voice acting, pacing, humor, combat depth, and perhaps the most important, its possibilities. What impressed me the most about Baldur's Gate 3 was when I started noticing that my actions had consequences. And I know that's the thing a lot of games say they have. It's a common marketing buzzword to say your choices really matter, but no other game before this has really made me feel this to the degree that Baldur's Gate 3 has. It really felt like so many small little details had been accounted for. And I was so excited every time I discovered something I did many hours ago had caused a butterfly effect to what is happening now. I can't stress this enough. Almost every NPC you talk to in this game matters. There were so many times where I thought someone was just going to be a random one-off side character, unimportant, but then later when they come back in interesting situations or when you need them the most, the grin on my face was immaculate every time. The pure joy of seeing the small things you do in the game come back later makes playing Baldur's Gate 3 very exciting every time. The replay value is insane. There's so many little things you can try differently than before. It's a game that keeps on giving, and by the end, I was almost sad that Larian Studios announced that they would not be developing DLC for this game, because I would easily pay 60 more euros for this. That's how much this game has convinced me. I have a lot more to say about this game. I only really talked about the branching choices for the most part, but if I started talking about how much I love the combat or Astarion, I will be here all day. But basically, you should push people off cliffs more, except Astarion. You should not shove him off a cliff. And that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Sylvy Awards 2023. We hope to see you again next time, and we hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you have a nice day and a happy new year.